In today's tutorial, I'll show you how to create a beaded bracelet using the Wicked Good 2-hole beads of the month. We'll combine ginkgo, rulla, and half-moon beads, along with 11-0 and 15-0 seed beads, and then finish the design with a magnetic clasp. Let's get started! Alright, so I'm going to show you how to make this in step-by-step fashion, basically. So we're going to be doing bead weaving today. This is essentially right angle weave. We're just using multi-hole beads and we're going in basically different directions, but it's essentially a raw unit, and just one really large raw unit. So we'll start off down here at one end and then we'll work through this one component. Then I'll show you how to start the second component, and then each component afterwards is going to be the same type of thing. Now I ended up doing 6 components on this first bracelet. This one fits my wrist really, really well. Go ahead and put it on real quick. And then, like I've said in videos in the past, I wear about a 6.5 to 7 inch bracelet, just depending on what it is. So this is how loose it is. I'm able to kind of get it up my wrist down and down my arm a little bit too. So it's around there. Each one of these little components here is about an inch also. It's approximately an inch. Now that kind of depends on your, that depends on your beading tension and some other factors too, but it's going to be somewhere around an inch to give you an idea how many that you'll have to make. So since I already have one bracelet done, I'm just going to make a shortened bracelet, just a little baby bracelet. So we'll go through a couple of the rotations and then I'll show you how to add the clasp after that. What we are going to do is we're going to start off putting on our wire guard. Now if you're one that doesn't like to use wire guards, perfectly fine. You're more than welcome to attach your clasp in the fashion that you like, but I'm going to use wire guards. I like to use them with thread and needle. So I'm putting about 4 to 5 inches or so. I use my watch as a gauge. I always put the end of my thread down past my watch. That usually gives me plenty of room to be able to add the wire guard at the end and be able to tie off and stuff like that. I'm actually doing a stop bead here, so we're going to go back through. I just picked up one of the seed beads, doesn't matter which color, one of the 11-0s. I would not do a stop bead with a 15-0 though, or if you have just a spare 8-0 on your mat or something like that, that would be easier to use too. So we're starting off with a stop bead here. Then we're going to pick up our wire guard, go through one of the channels of the wire guard, go ahead and pull that down close to the end. And I have a whole lot of thread on here. I burnt off too much thread in order to do just a baby bracelet. I was thinking I was going to do another big bracelet, but a larger one, but I'm going to be doing a baby one and I kind of forgot about that. So I have a whole lot of thread on my needle right now. But anyways, so you go up the one side of the wire guard, down the other. We're going to go ahead and pick up 2 of our pink 11-0s. And then we're going to go through this wire guard one more time. So up the one side and then down the other, making sure that you just lightly pinch that wire guard in your hand while you're moving the thread through. That allows the thread to stay in that channel right there at the top. Alright, so that is now on. So now we need to start adding our beads. So go back through the 2 seed beads that are sitting there. We're going to pick up another pink seed bead, and we're going to pick up our first of our ginkgo beads. I'm getting my sample over here off to the side so I don't mistell you what to do next. Alright, so we're going to pick up one of our first ginkgo beads. So the ginkgo beads have the 2 holes, where the hole goes from the rounded portion and then comes out the pointy portion. We'll be going in this direction on sometimes, and then other times we're going to be going from the pointy direction to the rounded direction. So I'll try to keep it like that. And then of course we have the left hole and then the right hole. So on this first one, it doesn't matter which side that you start off, because it's the same thing on both sides, but we're going to go from the rounded side to the pointy side. We're going to pick up another 11-0 in the pink. We're going to pick up one of our rulla beads. So there again are 2 holes on the rulla beads. There's one on the left, one on the right. Then this is where you're going to have to make sure that you're doing it in the correct direction. This first one, since we're starting off, really doesn't matter that much. I'm just going to go ahead and start off on the left side. So on your half moons, when you lay your half moon down, you have your hole here on the left and a hole here on the right. So since I'm coming out of the left hand side of this bead right here, right around where our wire guard is at, I'm going to go ahead and go through the left hand side of our half moon. We're going to pull all of this down to the end of the thread. And then it's going to look all nice and wonky at the moment. Perfectly fine. We're going to make it look nicer here in just a second. We're going to go from that left hole to the right hole of the half moon bead. Give it just a nice little tug, just to kind of get it snug. You don't want it too tight, because we're going to go back through these beads at least one more time anyway. And then now this rulla bead is sitting in the correct direction. That's the next thing that we want to pick up, because we want to have a rulla on either side of our half moon. So pick up a rulla bead, pick up one of your pink 11-ohs. Now we're going to go back through this same ginkgo bead that's already here, but we're going from the tip side to the rounded side. And then when you have your rullas sit in the correct direction, they're going to sit something like that. Now we have to finish this out. Get this untwisted a little bit so we can get the seed beads sitting in the right place. We're going to pick up one more 11-oh. We're going to go through the two 11-ohs that are sitting with the wire guard, and then we're going to also go through that 11-oh that we added at the very beginning with the ginkgo right here. So go ahead and add that. Now we need to get from this bead down to the open hole over here on the rullas, on this side right over here. To do that, we're going to add, what is it, 3? Yep, 3 pink beads. Now we're going to pick up some of our green ones. So we have 3 pink 11s and 2 greens, and I'm just going to go straight down into that bead down there. And pull that tight. And then that puts the extra beads along the side there. Now we want to come back through and do the same thing on this side before we move on to adding this basically same portion on this half of the half moon bead. So we're coming out of that left hole right now of the rulla. I'm just going to go back through the right hole here and go up the product some. So I'm going through the rulla, through the seed bead, through the ginkgo. Right now I'm coming out of the ginkgo because we want to go through those 4 seed beads that are along the top of the ginkgo to get to the other hole, or the other side over here. So just make sure you're going through those 4 seed beads. I have to twist this in my hand a little bit so I can see where I'm going. So that's 3 of them so far. And I'm going to go ahead and go through this 4th one, and then that gets me set up to where I add my 5 seed beads off to the side. So 3 pinks, and then 2 greens, and then go through the open hole of the rulla on the right. So now you have that first section done. So I'm going to get you set back up, and then we'll break and let you get caught up, and then we'll do that second half. So to get you set back up, we need to get ourselves through one of these 2 holes down here. It doesn't matter which one, but whichever one that you want to go through. So I'm going to go through the open hole, or the left-hand hole of this current rulla that we're coming out of. I'm going to go through the 11-oh, go back through the ginkgo. Now if you feel like your seed beads up here along the top are getting too many thread paths through it, you can just skip this. You can go, whoops, try not to drop it at least, but you can go straight from this hole, which is the right-hand side of the ginkgo, and go straight over here to the left-hand side. This is one reason why I decided to go ahead and use green thread, so that way most of these green beads you won't see the thread pass, because you're going to have thread pass on these beads and everything. So you can go straight over if you need to. If you feel like you can get through those seed beads, go ahead and go through the seed beads, so that way you don't have to worry about that thread path. So it just depends on where you're at. So I went straight through the ginkgo, the 11-0, the rulla, and I'm coming out of the half moon. So go ahead and get yourself caught up to that. Meet me back and I'll show you the next step. Alright, once you're caught up to this portion, then we need to do basically what's on this half of the half moon is going to be on the other side as well. So to do that, we're going to pick up our first rulla. It's going to be basically a mirror image, and then a pink seed bead. We're going to pick up our next ginkgo. We're going from the tip side to the rounded side this time. Then we need to pick up 4 more of our pink seed beads. Bring that all down to the product, and it's going to sit something similar to this. So now we're coming out of the left hand hole of the ginkgo. We want to go down the right hand hole and then get these beads here on this side. So we're going to pick up one of our pink 11-0s. We're going to pick up our next rulla bead. We're going to go down the right hand hole of the half moon. I'm going to go ahead and go down the left hand hole of the rulla below it, because that's going to get us set up to add our extra seed beads again along the edge. So now we're going to add some 15s in between the 2 rullas on either side of our half moon. So we're going to do this side first. So we're coming out of the left hand hole of the rulla. We're going to go up the right hand hole. Now our 15s are our black ones, so we're going to pick up 3 of our black 15s and go through the right hand hole of the rulla above it. This is where we add our 5 seed beads along the edge, so 2 greens in this portion and then 3 pinks. So just always remember that if you're doing the same pattern, the same color way that I'm doing, the greens are always going to be up against the rulla beads, if you're having issues trying to remember if it's green first or if it's pink first. So 2 greens and 3 pinks. I'm going to go through all 4 of these 11-0s up here at the top of the ginkgo. And I just flipped it in my hand so it's a little bit easier for me to bead. Easier for me to go from work on the right hand side of items. Picking up my 5 seed beads. So it's 3 pinks and 2 greens this time. Then going down the open hole on this rulla. And now we're set up to add our 3 15-0s to fill in this little portion right here. And I'm just going to go through that open, or that right hand hole of the rulla there at the top. So that is your first component completed. So now I'll get you set up to where we can start our next component. So coming out of that right hand hole, just go straight through the left hand hole, go through the half moon, the next rulla, the 15 or the 11-0, excuse me, the pink one. And if you can make it all in one swoop, then that's fine. If not, you can just take it a couple of beads at a time. And then go through your ginkgo. And then now you need to make sure that you're going through the middle 4 here. So we added the 3 seed beads off to the side over here. And then your middle 4 is going to be this one, this one, this one, and this one. So we want to go through the first 3. So that way we're using these 2 beads in between this unit and then attaching it to that unit. So we're going to go through this bead and the next 2 in line. See if I can get it to focus. There we go. I think that's focused for you. So that way hopefully you can see which ones I'm going through correctly. Oh, got caught up on the thread there. I was trying to make a knot. So there is that. So now we're basically set up to start the same way that we did down here. The only difference is that we're going to be on the right hand side of everything this time, rather than starting on the left hand side. So I'll get you started with that. And then everything else is the same. So go ahead and pick up your 11-0. We're going to pick up one of our ginkgos, going from the wrong way, going from the rounded portion to the tip. Then we're going to pick up another pink 11, one of our rullas, and this is where you have to be careful. It's always whenever you're adding your half moons, you have to make sure that you're going through the correct side, because if you go through the left side again, then your moon's going to be upside down. So since we're beading on the right hand side over here, we need to make sure that we're going through the right hand side of the moon. And then pull that down. And then get everything somewhat situated. Then go through the left hole of that same moon. And then we add the mirror image here. So it's a rulla, a pink seed bead. We already have our ginkgo sitting there, so we want to go through the left-hand hole of the ginkgo, going from the tip towards the rounded side. And then give it a nice little tug, make sure everything is sitting correctly. And then the last thing that you need to eat, I think I'm hungry. The last thing you need to add, don't eat your beads please. The last thing you need to add is one more pink seed bead. Then we're going to go through those two middle seed beads that we're going to be sharing between the two units, and then proceed through the pink seed bead on the right. And that gets you set up to add your extra beads over here off to the side, wrap back around here, add your extra beads over here, then wrap back around one more time, and then you add your mirror image on this half. And then you just continue this for as many that you need. Like I said in the first clip, these are approximately 1 inch in size. So they're about an inch or so. Maybe a little bit longer, looser than an inch, or longer than an inch. It may be a little bit tighter than an inch. It just depends on your tension with your seat, with your bead weaving and everything. So that would kind of give you an idea of how many of these units that you need to make. So go ahead and complete the rest of that, and then meet me back, and then I'll show you how to add this wire guard on the other end, just in case people are new to using wire guards. Once you're done with however many units that you need to make, there again, like on my first bracelet, I did 6, and it's about a 6.5 to 7 inch size bracelet. I'd say it's probably closer to about a 6.5 to 6 3/4, somewhere around in there. So, just depending on how many that you have, you should be coming out of your second bead of the 2 middle beads on top of your last ginkgo. This is where we're going to add our next wire guard. So go ahead and go up one side of the wire guard, pull that down, and then go down the other side of the wire guard, just pinching it ever so slightly in your fingers, so that way you can help keep the thread to stay in the channel, just like that. Then we're going to wrap through those last 2 seed beads that we just were coming out of. So the 2 seed beads that we always share in between units or with the wire guard. And then we're going to go through this wire guard at least one more time. If you can go through a 3rd time with your thread and needle, then I would probably go ahead and do 3 times. With it being a bracelet, the clasp is going to get a little bit more wear and tear compared to obviously earrings and or even a necklace. Sometimes the clasp on the necklace does not get as much wear and tear, just depending on how much you wear it. But with it being a bracelet, it's going to be on your wrist, and then it's going to get knocked around and hit a couple of times by various things. And if you're as rough with jewelry as I am, then you definitely want to try to see if you want to go through that a 3rd time. If you can't, that's perfectly fine. It's just one of those things. I prefer to go through 3 times if I can. Alright, so I went through that at least twice. Go through it 3 times if you can. Now we're just going to do some half hitch knots. Now this is going to be the same process down here with our starter thread that we have with our stop bead. The only difference is that you just put your needle back on this half of the thread, take your starter stop bead off, and then just do the same thing on this end. So all I'm going to do is just go down a couple of the beads. Doesn't matter how many. Going down just the side beads. I'm going to make a surgeon's knot first. So to do that, we're going to go underneath the bridge thread. I'm going to pull everything together until it makes a little loop that's pretty close to the beads itself. I'm going to go through that loop once, making sure that the loop stays in between the 2 beads. So I'm currently coming out of that pink bead, that last one. So I want to go in between the pink and the green. I'm going to make the loop just a little bit smaller, And then I'm going to go through the loop one more time. And then I'm going to pull tight and quick. And then that puts a little surgeon's knot right there. And then I'm going to go down a couple of beads and I'm going to do the same thing. Whoops. And then I'm going to throw my item all over the place. Love it when that happens. Alright, so I would suggest not to do any knots around your 15-ohs. Sometimes, whoa, hello, focus. Sometimes the 15-ohs are a little too small to hold the knot. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the 15s, but I'm going to do my next knot right next to that rulla. And what you want to do, especially when you're doing bracelets, you want to do at least 2 knots. I typically do 3 to 4, just depending on how much beadwork I'm doing with my bracelet. If I'm doing a lot more gemstones with a bracelet, I tend to do much more knots because I don't want my bracelet to come apart and then somebody lose the gemstones. I don't want my bracelets coming apart anyway, but I always feel bad whenever a bracelet is made and then the gemstones come off. Alright, so that's my second surgeon's knot. So that's all you do. You just go through your product and do that 3 or 4 times. And then do the same thing on the other end. I like to do it next to some of the bigger beads sometimes because now that knot is hidden inside the rulla bead. So that way you don't see it. So now we're just going to burn off. So take your thread burner and burn down close to the item. And then take the thread burner and then burn that little tail up against the bead itself. Hello, come on, focus. There we go. So now you can see just a little bit of thread sitting there in between the rulla and the green seed bead. So that's pretty much what you do with the bracelet, that part itself. I'm just going to leave my starter thread here just to, well, you know what, I'll take it off and kind of burn it down a little bit so that way you can see what I'm doing. A little bit easier. So of course you're going to go through and actually tie that off in the correct way. I'm just doing this just to make a point of what it's supposed to look like other than the length at the end. Alright, so now we need to add our jump rings, and I only have 1 plier in here with me. Let's see, let me use my crimpers. Probably not the best thing to do to use your crimpers, but if you have magical crimpers, they have just that little bit of a tip there, so you can use that if you need to open up and close your jump rings. And then this, you would just have to make sure, depending on your clasp, I'm using a magnetic clasp that does have a top and a bottom. So you got the crystals on one side and you got just a plain on the bottom. So I want to make sure that the crystals are facing where the half moons are facing upwards. So we just want to make sure that that gets put on the correct way. So we'll put that on, and then you put the other side on in the same fashion, but of course this is so small that you're really not going to be able to see what it looks like. It kind of looks like a ring almost. Actually, let's finish that just to see what it looks like. Almost looks like it could be a ring. Maybe like a thumb ring or something big, but I just want to play with it and see what it looks like. Alright. So there's that. Bad thing about using magnetic clasps is that they want to attach to your pliers while you're working with them. Alright, so your bracelet's going to look a lot bigger than this. It's like a little Barbie bracelet. Okay, I have to try it. I have to try it. See what it looks like. Okay, it's loose, but it could be a thumb ring if you wanted it to be. So maybe you can even possibly do a third one sitting here, and then that could actually possibly be a thumb ring for you. So there's another option. The things we come up with whenever we start designing and beading and then recording. So yeah, that probably could work as a thumb ring, because you could just do a third one right there and then pull it on and off. Okay. Different. Neat. Alright, so there is your potential for your thumb ring. And here is what the bracelet looked like again. Get the bracelet on. And then there's the clasp. And then there's what it looks like on the wrist. So there's our project for this month. And that's how this bracelet comes together using the Wicked Good 2-hole beads, plus the bonus ring option if you'd like to try a smaller project. If you enjoyed this tutorial, like and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. My next Beads of the Month box should be arriving this week, so stay tuned!